Hello, Professor Duan. We are Sofia Zapata and Maria Jose Uritica, and we are going to talk about the 5 learning factors proposed by Harmer. The age factor in language learning refers to how a learner's age influences their ability to acquire a new language, since different age groups exhibit distinct cognitive and emotional development stages, which of course affects their learning styles and needs. For example, young children often learn best through play and interactive activities, while older children tend to perform better in language learning under the right conditions, or the adults who tend to be more disciplined than other age groups, and crucially, they are often prepared to struggle on despite boredom. The critical period hypothesis proposed by Penfield and Roberts and popularized by Lenenberg suggests that there's an optimal age for language learning, typically before puberty, but also it's important to have into account that effective teaching requires skilled educators who create engaging environments and understands the emotions and the cognitive development of their students. But overall, teaching strategies must be adapted to align with the developmental stages of the learners to maximize their language acquisition potential. Learner differences encompass the unique traits and characteristics that each student possesses, including personality, interests, and cognitive abilities. These differences can significantly impact how students engage with and process the information. Learner styles, on the other hand, refers to the preferred ways in which individuals absorb, process, and retain information such as visual, auditory, or kinesthetic modalities. Understanding both learner differences and styles is essential for educators to create tailored teaching approaches that accommodate the diverse needs of students, ultimately enhancing their learning experience and outcomes. Motivation in language learning is crucial and can be influenced by both intrinsic and extrinsic factors. Intrinsic motivations comes from within the learner, driven by a passion for learning and a sense of competence when facing challenges. Intrinsically motivated students are more engaged and likely to succeed in their studies. Extrinsic motivation is influenced by external factors such as the desire to pass exams or the need to communicate effectively in a foreign country. While teachers can impact extrinsic motivation, they have more power to foster intrinsic motivations.
Teachers play a big role in enhancing students' motivation by setting achievable goals that align with students' abilities, increasing their expectation of success. However, if students don't meet these expectations, it can make them feel less motivated. Effective motivation strategies include clear success criteria, continuous assessment, and creating supporting learning environment that encourages effort and improvement. In order to select, create, and prepare the correct activities for the students, it is required to previously identify their English proficiency level. The Common European Framework of Reference (CEFR) categorizes language learners into different levels of proficiency, ranging from beginner to advanced. And each level describes specific abilities in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And the key points that I would like to add are the distinction between beginners, which are real beginners and false beginners. The real beginners are students with no knowledge of English, while false beginners are students who have some knowledge but cannot communicate effectively. The 6 levels of CEFR are the first, A1, which is a beginner, and it is divided into false beginner and real beginner. The next one is A2, which is elementary. The next one is B1, which is also known as intermediate. B2, which is upper intermediate level, C1, which is effective operational proficiency or advanced, and the last but not least, C2, which is mastery of proficiency. At A1 level, learners can introduce themselves and others. They can ask and answer simple questions about personal details, such as where they live and people they know. At A2 level or elementary, learners can understand sentences and frequently use expressions related to areas of immediate relevance. Like shopping or family, they can communicate in simple tasks requiring a simple exchange of information. B1, which is intermediate, Learners can deal with most situations likely to arise while traveling in an area where the language is spoken. They can produce simple connected tasks on familiar topics. B2 level or upper intermediate is a level where learners can understand the main ideas of complex texts on both concrete and abstract topics. They can interact with a degree of fluency and spontaneity that makes regular interaction with native speakers quite possible. C1 level learners can express ideas fluently and spontaneously without much obvious searching for expressions. They can use language flexibility and effectively for academic, social, and professional purposes. At C2 level, which is mastery or proficiency level, learners are able to express themselves spontaneously, very fluently, and precisely, differentiating finer shades of meaning even in the most complex situations. In terms of learner autonomy, it's important to say that true empowerment consists of the freedom to learn outside the teaching context and the ability to continue learning after the instruction has finished, proposed by Fayol in 2007. The learner autonomy is divided into three main subtopics, which are strategy training, autonomy task, and of course, homework. The first, strategy training, makes reference to the ability to create strategies students use to learn and remember that can significantly impact their success. It makes reference to the note-taking techniques. Autonomy task basically is described as designed activities to encourage students to take responsibility for their own learning. And the last, homework, it's a controversial topic actually because the author proposed that it's important to select engaging homework tasks that interest students in order to complete them effectively. Bloom's taxonomy is a framework developed by Benjamin Bloom to categorize educational goals and objectives. The taxonomy is divided into 6 different levels, arranged in a hierarchy from lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills. Order is remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and last, creating.
As a conclusion, the age factor was important in my process since teachers always had into account my age and the stage I was in for the activities they designed and the topics we saw. As I grew older, I realized that I had a specific way in which I like to learn and which helped me to store information in my head. And motivation has always been important in my process since I always felt motivated by my teachers and by myself to enhance my English to become better.
Finally, I realized that in general the 5 learning aspects have a relationship support since in order to achieve autonomy and independence in the learning aspect, we need to have enough motivation to keep improving our skills and language proficiency. However, we are the only ones in charge of finding that motivation. Before the activity, I was able to reflect and integrate the first reading of this area and included to conclude my analysis. Learning is not a linear process. Besides, it is a continuous experience. Thank you so much.